You're listening to the Talon Talk podcast on Talon Television.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Talon Sports Talk podcast. I'm Austin Speaker.
I'm Jaden Sarablo.
And Mitch Courtney will not be with us today, but we are blessed here to have Kenny Stables join back. Welcome back, Kenny.
How's it going?
So, how was everyone's Thanksgiving?
Pretty good. It's good to be back.
Ate a lot of pie.
A lot of pie. Well, I'll tell you about pie. There were 11 different pies at my aunt's house. We had 30 people over for Thanksgiving. We had 2 turkeys, 3 things of stuffing, 11 pies. It was nuts.
Yeah, it's a big house.
So I actually just woke up yesterday after that food coma. So.
Missed a lot of good football, though.
Oh, yeah, we did, but we'll get to that later on. But for now, we're going to talk about some big news out of Western New York area. In terms of hockey, Buffalo Sabres beat the Ottawa Senators 5-4, and it was a very big way to welcome back Jack Eichel to the ice. Jaden, what did you see from that game?
Well, immediately Jack Eichel brought an impact to the Sabres. He had 2 points, a goal and an assist in the first 10 minutes. And just a sigh of relief. We've been waiting for Jack to be back for, it's been a quarter of the season. They're at the bottom of the Atlantic Division. They just need that star back, and he finally made an immediate impact.
Yeah, absolutely. That impact was huge. And you saw it with the energy that everyone brought. Okposo got the party started to go up 1-0. O'Reilly had 2 goals. Reinhart had a goal. It just seemed like all the stars for the Sabres came to play.
Yeah.
When you think about the big names, you think about right away Eichel, Okposo, O'Reilly, and Reinhart. And all of them scored. I found an interesting stat is it's only the 3rd time all year that the Sabres scored at least 1 goal in each period. And it's also the 3rd time all year that the Sabres had a 3-score period.
Yep. And just Jack Eichel being on the ice, it definitely makes Reinhart better. Reinhart needs Eichel on the ice, and it makes O'Reilly and Okposo better because teams are so worried about Eichel. He's so fast. They put a defender or 2 on him, and it just leaves openings for those other forwards. I'm excited to see him tonight. It's his home debut for the season. I'll be at KeyBank Center for that one, so it'll be fun.
That's right.
And hopefully they can pull out a win.
Absolutely, and they play the Rangers on December 1st, Thursday night. So that's going to be a good one to watch. And speaking of playing the Rangers, obviously they are a fantastic team.
Best team in the Metro.
They are the best team in the metropolitan region. They are 16-7-1. And the Sabres just scored 5 goals on the Senators scored 4. So it's not like a total blowout. But the Sabres still were able to win 5-4 in Ottawa against the second best team in the Atlantic. So it's
a good win.
It's a good win, but there's just the consistency. We always talk about the consistency, and if I'm not expecting them to score 5 goals every night, but I'm thinking maybe with Eichel out there, he's a tough defender too. We talk about how great he is with the puck, but he's also a very tough kid. He loves to play defense, and if he can just get a spark going and create some energy, create some fire in that team, maybe you can see a winning streak develop over the course of the year.
Yeah, and they definitely need a win streak. They're like we were saying, they're at the bottom of the Atlantic Division. And they're 3 points back from the next team. I think they have 21, and there's 3 or 4 teams sitting there with 24 points.
Yeah, you got Toronto, Florida, and Detroit all ahead of Buffalo with 24.
Okay. And, they're far back. And if they want to make the playoffs and not be in too big of a hole by the midway point of the season, they need to string together a 5 or 6 game winning streak. And not just one time. They need to do that a few times throughout the season. That's
right. And, that's with the Atlantic Division. But then you look at the Metropolitan Division and how stacked that region is. You got the Rangers obviously leading the way. The Penguins are there at 13-7. Capitals 13-6. Columbus, the Blue Jackets have 12 wins on the year. They're 12-5
this year.
They're doing really well. And then you got Kenny. You got your New Jersey Devils sitting there, double-digit wins. You got 10 wins, but did you see that coming out of Columbus this year?
No, but it doesn't surprise me because Columbus and John Tortorella run such an aggressive forecheck. It's feast or famine with them. They either win decisively or they lose decisively. And with Columbus, they kill some teams and they don't play well against some teams. And with the Devils, losing Taylor Hall has been the turning point of the season. They only have 1 win since he went on IR. He should have come back tonight against Chicago. Hopefully that kickstarts the offense again. They've been very inconsistent since he went on IR. But no, it's a pretty competitive year in the NHL all around. I'd say I can't remember there being enough young talent since the mid 2000s maybe.
Right, when you're looking around the league and you see Matthews, McDavid, Eichel coming back, obviously is huge, and you just see
even draft picks from 2 or 3 years ago that are coming in their own, like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Just all these guys you were thinking of 2 years ago are finally sort of starting to mold into what they should be. But in terms of rookies, wow, the rookie class is stacked this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely a fun year to watch in the NHL, and it's only gonna get better, I think, as if more. Obviously, there's been a lot of injuries, but as more people come back, there's just gonna make it that much more competitive for each team in each division. It's just going to be a really good watch, and that's just in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going out west.
Those bigger teams out west, especially all those 6'5" wingers that win
That's
you on
right.
the boards, and
There
they're
was
tough.
flashback 5 years ago. Every team who was winning the Stanley Cup was out west, whether it was the Blackhawks,
Kings.
the Kings were winning all the time. The Sharks were out there, not getting wins, but they seemed to be in the finals last year at least.
With the East, it was always Bruins, Penguins.
Right.
And that was really it. But now you see, I mean, the Rangers have always been a competitor as well, but now you see teams like the Capitals are,
Storm.
they've always been great, but now they have a legit chance to really go far. Ottawa obviously has a lot of wins. Tampa Bay has always been good, but now they're right in the middle of it. You got Montreal, Ottawa, and Tampa are all ahead of Boston this year so far. It's still early. We're about, what'd you say, about a quarter of the way through the
It's
season?
just a little bit over a quarter
roughly,
away.
yeah.
A couple
Yeah.
games over.
So a lot can change. I'm not saying the Sabres are going to make it into the 8th seed. I'm just saying a lot can change, that the Bruins can climb up. Pittsburgh and Rangers, that's going to be a very fun.
They'll be there in the end.
I know it's just going to be fun to watch them in the top of the Metropolitan Division.
To put in perspective how good the Metro is, at one point the Devils were 9-3-3, and they were 4th in their own division. So that just proves how stacked that Metro is this season.
Yeah, the East is definitely a lot better this year than it usually
Oh,
is,
yeah.
with the Canadiens being at the top of the league. Canadiens are the number 1 team in the league right now. And the Rangers, in my opinion, the second best team in the league. I think they're the best team in the league, the Rangers, right now.
Right.
That's going to be a huge test for the Sabres tonight. So we'll see how they pull out a win.
I'll never admit the Rangers are the best team in the NHL because I'm a diehard Devils fan.
Yeah,
but
can't blame you there.
realistically, they are a top 3 team in hockey.
Yeah,
easily.
no, there's
Don't
not
let
many,
your roommate hear that, by the way.
No.
no teams can score like the Rangers. There's so many just explosive forwards. And it's going to be a tough one for the Sabres tonight, that's for sure.
That's right. Now, this is going to be our last podcast for the semester. So when we come back, luckily, when we come back in the spring semester, we're going to have a lot to talk about as far as leading up to the NHL All-Star break. There's going to be a whole lot of season coming back. But that's going to end it for the NHL in this podcast segment. So we're going to move on to college football. Yeah, college football, not professional, but college gets just as much marketing as anyone. And we're at that time of the year now where you're going into the last week, you're going into conference title games, but the playoff picture is looking pretty set, barring a couple games. You got Washington sitting there in the 4th seed. Well, first of all, 1, 2, 3 obviously are Bama, Ohio State, Clemson. Pretty sure that's going to stay like that.
Right.
And Washington,
Debatably. You see Alabama, I think, will win. They play Florida in the SEC championship game.
That won't be
Right.
close.
Ohio State isn't. It's
No,
a playoff or a bowl game for Ohio State.
Right, well, the Big Ten championship, we're going to get to that, but yeah, it's Wisconsin, Penn State. It's
Yeah.
not Michigan and Ohio State are nowhere to be found in
Right.
that.
Clemson plays Virginia Tech, so Clemson has the possibility of slipping out of that spot. And then Washington plays Colorado, which that's going to be a very good game. That's
Yeah.
going to be very decisive. But I mean, if, like I said, if Alabama wins, Clemson wins, Washington wins, everything should stay set.
Right, and I think the one team that could lose is Clemson. Virginia Tech has had one of the more underrated defenses in college football the past 4 or 5 years.
They're
and
also a very high-flying team. They can run down the field with anyone.
their secondaries produced first-round picks 4 out of the last 5, something like that. They always produce great corners and safeties, at least.
That's right. So when you're looking through it, that's going to conclude the top 4, Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, Washington, and then you got Michigan after that tough loss sitting there at 5.
I think Michigan's done, though. I don't think there's.
Really?
I mean, they don't have a game to prove it. I see if Oklahoma wins their big. There's a lot of teams that can jump them. Like if Wisconsin wins, they jump Michigan, in my opinion.
I
I think
agree.
if Penn State wins, I think they even jump Michigan. They would have that Big Ten title. They beat an Ohio State team. This is going to be a really tough year for the committee, and they're going to take heat regardless with whatever team they have in or out.
That's true. I'm just kind of thinking in terms of marketing aspects. I'm kind of for let's say, for argument's sake,
point.
let's just play devil's advocate. Colorado beats Washington. That's a tough loss for Washington. They're out. Let's say Penn State at the 8th seed beats Wisconsin. Congratulations, Penn State. You won the Big Ten, but you're the 8th seed. It's hard to jump 4 seeds, especially against a team like Michigan who already beat them earlier in the year. So I think that if that happens, that could give them enough of a reason to just sneak Michigan in there in the 4 seed. Because now think of this. Now they're just licking their chops. They got Harbaugh versus Saban, and then you got Dabo versus Urban. That's going to be such That would be
And-
such a good marketing
It would.
playoff.
I can't argue that at all.
And that's my argument for Michigan being the 4th seed over Washington. You can argue both sides why Washington should be the 4th seed, why Michigan should be the 4th seed. But Michigan lost at Iowa, which is a tough place to play, and at Ohio State. Washington lost to USC. I mean, granted, they only have one loss compared to Michigan's 2, but if any team at the 4th seed is going to have a chance to beat Alabama, it's not going to be Washington. It's going to be Michigan.
Right.
With knowing how Jim Harbaugh is, how much he prepares, how much of a maniac he is on the sidelines, and the pro-style offenses colliding, they both know how to get the most out of their players.
That's right. We were kind of going over our notes before the podcast started, and Kenny, you definitely mentioned something interesting. Is Harbaugh runs an NFL-style program, so if anyone's going to beat a
Right.
Jalen Hurns run quarterback scheme, that's going to be Jim Harbaugh.
Right, and Michigan has like 1,000 different formations on offense and defense, which might confuse Alabama. I mean, I think Jim Harbaugh is going to be more prepared than Nick Saban, just knowing the way he is, how much he hates losing more than anyone on planet Earth. It was evident last week against Ohio State when he broke his clipboard, millions of times in his headset. And it's just, I'm telling you, Washington, Alabama, I don't think that game's going to be even close.
He is kind of a psycho when he's on the sideline and they're losing. And Jay, to go back to what you were saying about Washington losing, or having one loss on the year, that is the Pac-12. That's no slouch of a conference.
It's not.
But college football does have kind of like an East Coast bias. West Coast teams do not get a whole lot of look. There's just not a whole lot of market out there. But what's the value of having a team like Washington stay in there? That's kind of like I've always said that you like to see different teams make the MLB playoffs and different teams make the NFL playoffs. I think seeing a team like Washington get in the 4th seed, that would also be really, really cool. It would be a great story.
I agree. And it shows that possibly they should expand to 8, that they can see more West Coast teams in. You have these 4 teams, it's always those big 4. You see those Bama's, Ohio State, Michigan, whoever the powerhouse is. But I think Washington's a team that very well deserves to be in. I agree with you that if they played Bama would probably roll them. But if they win here or even lose, they've only lost once this year, and it was to a USC team. USC is not a bad team this year by any means.
They're not, but they're not the USC of the mid-2000s. They struggled to stay ranked this year.
They've been so bad in the past.
Right. They always have the talent. It's always utilizing their talent, though. They're always undercoached.
A very undercoached program.
Yeah.
Especially when you got, who was their coach last year, was always showing up drunk or whatever.
Well, Orgeron was their intern for a while. Then it was Sarkisian.
That's Sarkisian.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking of.
Sarkisian.
Sarkisian.
Forgot about that.
Steve Sarkisian, there it is.
That's right. Yeah, so when you have that happening, you can have Washington go in there. It also improves the draft stock and also the Heisman stock. I know he's not really in the Heisman race anymore, but Jake Bowing,
Jake Bryce?
he's the Washington quarterback. He's definitely got draft stock. So maybe they roll Colorado, and maybe they lose to Alabama, but maybe they put up a good game.
Right. Well, that's another wow factor in the Alabama versus Washington consideration. Most college football fans are going to be like, well, yeah, I know a good amount of players in Alabama, but Jake Browning and who for Washington? Like you said with the East Coast bias, like even the guys who only follow college football like as their sport will probably have trouble naming Washington starting 11 on offense. I mean, it's just a fact. Like
Jake Browning's probably the most NFL-ready quarterback in college football. Him and Baker Mayfield.
Definitely.
But if you look at Jake Browning's stats, if you want to, for the Heisman purposes, he has 3,100 passing yards. Pretty favorable.
Yep.
40 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions.
that's good.
That's a ratio.
That's the
That
best.
is really
That's
good.
the best ratio in college football. And then 4 rushing touchdowns to add. Just to put in perspective, Baker Mayfield has 35 passing touchdowns and 8 picks. He has 3,300 yards. So those are the 2 NFL prospects who are a little bit farther in the Heisman, because Lamar Jackson is pretty much the unanimous choice probably at this point.
I think it's at this point. We were talking 5 weeks ago when Louisville was rolling, essentially, that he had it unanimously, but now you can give votes to Watson. I mean,
Right.
Christian McCaffrey, maybe not even that.
But
Not even that
Lamar
anymore.
Jackson, even after that loss to Kentucky.
He has 51 touchdowns total. He has 30 passing touchdowns and 21 rushing touchdowns.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
3,300 passing yards and 1,500 rushing yards.
Yeah, that's
That's
unheard
unheard
of.
of
He is
from a
a
quarterback.
stat
That's
stuffer.
game over.
That's Heisman numbers right there.
And I
It
agree.
is.
It's not. This isn't that like MVP where they say, "Oh, your team has to win for you to get this
Right,
trophy." This is
right.
the Heisman where you just. It's almost strictly numbers, is it not?
Pretty much.
And it's
yeah,
a
pretty much.
quarterback and a running back battle.
Yeah.
I think that Oklahoma's wide receiver. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Can't either.
He's just been punting up. Westbrook is his last name. Just
Okay.
Oh,
got-
Diddy Thompson.
Diddy
or
Thompson.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Westbrook. Diddy Westbrook.
putting
Yeah.
up godly numbers at receiver. I think he should be in consideration for it, but they just don't. The receivers don't get the looks that quarterbacks and running backs do.
absolutely
And same
not.
with Jabril Peppers. He just won't get the looks being on the defensive side of the
Right.
ball.
And I remember when Amari Cooper was back at Alabama and he was putting up Heisman numbers, but like you said, with him being a wide receiver, it goes to whoever's throwing the ball to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it goes to
Yeah.
whoever's running the ball behind him to open up the passing
Because
game.
people say they're spoon-fed, when in
Right.
reality they do have to get open. The quarterbacks don't let them get open. I mean, they have to get open themselves.
I think
Right, so-
Amari Cooper at the time was A.J. McCarron, the quarterback. Amari
And also,
Cooper
Yeah, it was.
made
and also
A.J.
Derrick
McCarron.
Henry
Yeah.
too, was
Yeah.
back there. And so, yeah, it's a tough Heisman battle, but let's focus real quick before we end the college football segment. Let's
Make our
just
predictions.
let's-
Top 4, who do you think's going to get in?
I think Washington's going to beat Colorado, and I think that the top 4 are just going to stay that way. Colorado's going to put up a good game. They're very underlooked. They've been underlooked all year, and anytime someone does talk about Colorado, the common thing you hear is don't sleep on them.
Right.
But I just think Washington has a lot to prove still, even though they are the 4 seed. I think they have a lot to prove, and they really want to get in there. Obviously, every team wants to get in there, but with them being the 4 seed, they want to maintain that. And I think this is going to be the top 4. And then my prediction is going to be Bama, Ohio State in the championship game.
Okay.
And then?
I don't know. At that point, it's basically a coin flip. Saban and Urban Meyer, they're two of the best college football coaches that we've ever seen.
Just say Bama. Ohio State's back.
I don't want to say Bama. I don't want to say Bama, but
I'm saying Bama.
you could say Bama for that one. I would actually probably have to say Bama. I'm reluctant to because it would be such a good game and it really could go either way. But Bama is just so balanced on everything. They come at you from all angles on defense. They can run down the field any way they choose on offense.
They're
incredible.
They're basically the only team in college football that is 3 deep at every position with 5-star recruits. So even if someone goes down, they don't miss a beat. That's the one thing that makes them stand out amongst other teams.
So what do you guys think about the Final Four going into the playoffs?
It's very likely what you just said will happen, but me personally I think Clemson's going to lose to Virginia Tech, and they're going to be out.
I do too, honestly.
And I think that's going to happen. And in that case,
So
I think
who would move up?
Michigan. I agree with you. I don't know if they deserve it, but it's all about the marketing, the
Right.
money, and that will be a good contest.
So what I'm asking, like, if Washington beats Colorado and Clemson loses to Virginia Tech,
think
would
it'll go-
Michigan get 3 or 4?
Michigan, I think it would go Bama 1, Wisconsin 2, Ohio State 3, Michigan 4. I think Alabama, Michigan would play, and then Ohio State would play Michigan. Wait, no.
Wisconsin?
Ohio State would play, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wisconsin.
That'd be interesting. That's a different shakeup. I haven't heard that one recently.
And-
So you would need Wisconsin to beat Penn State, Washington to lose, and Clemson to lose.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All
yeah.
of which,
A lot has to happen.
all of which, by the way, could happen.
Could. Anything can happen.
It's any
Yeah.
given Saturday. Really, literally anything can happen. But
But I think regardless, then whatever happens from there, I think Bama's going to win.
Right.
I think
Right. Yeah.
I think every other team in college football has their imperfections. They've been exposed at times. Ohio State's been exposed. They lost to Penn State. They probably should have lost to Michigan.
Yeah.
And then I think Bama just week in and week out, they're rolling ranked opponents. They are always playing ranked opponents and winning by 20-plus points. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they're just going to get another ring, and we're witnessing a dynasty.
and last thing,
Yeah.
Kenny, what do you think?
Well, semantically, I think what you guys said is true. I think the Wisconsins, the Penn States, even the Washingtons should be in the top 4. But I still stand by. I think Michigan should be in the top 4. They are. I still think they're the only team that can beat Alabama in the country, and I'll stand by that. I know the system may not agree with me, but I don't care what they think. I think based on the eye test, Michigan has the formations and the players to do it. So.
All very possible. So from college football, we are going to move on to professional football, and in the NFL, there's a huge game going on this week that to a lot of people they may not tune in, but this is probably going to separate me and Jaden for the next few days. I probably won't talk to him for a little while, depending on how the game goes. Buffalo at Oakland, Sunday at 4:00. Oakland is in first place in the AFC West. Congratulations, you guys are having a heck of a year.
Thank you.
And the Bills are still in the hunt at 6-5. They're a game behind Miami, and they're also trying to hang in there with the Denver Broncos as well, trying to stay in the hunt.
Yeah, they're a game back of the last wildcard spot,
Yeah, that's
Buffalo
right.
right now, which is the Dolphins.
That's right. So this is going to be a huge one. Oakland.
More so for you guys.
More so for Buffalo. So from the Buffalo standpoint, talking to an Oakland guy, I will say that if Buffalo doesn't break 28 points, we're gonna lose.
That's fair.
If the Bills don't score, the Bills have to score at least 28 points just to have a chance.
Yeah, it'll probably be a game like that. I'm thinking
Right.
more like a 31-28, 34-28. It's gonna be close. So you'll get the Raiders play close with every team. Derek Carr is always leading those game-winning drives, and I mean, granted, he's probably sooner or later he's probably gonna lose one of those because he's so successful late in the games. But it'll be a close game. In my opinion, I could see it being a blowout. I don't think it will be.
Right. I think it's going to be a real run-gun game. Tyrod isn't gonna break 300 or anything, but I think Tyrod could definitely break 200, especially with Sammy Watkins comes back. Hopefully, he stays healthy and he doesn't have another setback. He didn't practice Wednesday due to a foot soreness. But if he's out there Sunday and he can run, then that could definitely help out Tyrod's passing game.
Shady's going to run all over the
Shady's going
Raiders.
to run all over the place.
He
So
will.
this is the kind of game where if Tyrod might break 200 yards, and that's great, but even if he doesn't, he still does his normal 180 to 190. He could also just as easily run for 75 plus. Shady could run for 150 plus. He has done that more than once this year.
Yeah.
3 times total, I believe.
I'm very curious to see how Tyrod's going to handle the pressure from Oakland. Because you saw Cam Newton was under extreme pressure all game from Khalil Mack and the rest of the Raiders D.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you saw on the last play of the game where Khalil had that strip sack and he recovered the fumble as well.
That's right.
Came and just nailed Cam Newton in the face and just it was brutal to him the whole game. Tyrod's not that big, so I don't know how he's going to handle that pressure. I guess we'll see.
I think Tyrod's a little more elusive than Cam, but like you said,
sure.
Khalil Mack. Everyone talks about Khalil Mack, how vicious he is on the pass rush. No one talks about how vicious he is in the pass coverage. He's so good at dropping back. He's so good. He's so athletic as a linebacker to stay with tight ends and wide receivers doing crossing routes over the middle. He can be another defensive back out there if he really wanted to. I mean, he's very big and physical, but he's just as fast as anyone.
He had a pick six. His
That's right.
First of the career against Cam. That was good to see.
That's right.
But that's more of just, him hanging out, kind of staying at home at the DN position. They ran a screen. He read it like a book and just...
That's right. He's also very smart, and he's very talented. And I think if I just got to give a final score here, I do think Oakland's going to win this one. It's going to be tough, but I think this is going to spell trouble for the Bills' season. It's probably going to be the beginning of the end for it. And because Buffalo needs to basically win out. If they can afford one loss, if they get help from everyone else, including Denver and Miami, and that one loss could be to Oakland. Like that's the one they can afford, but they need to beat Pittsburgh. They need to beat Miami. They need to beat the Jets. They need to beat the Browns. They need to win out everything else, basically.
Right.
So they can afford one loss, but they need a lot of help. But I do think that one loss, if there is going to be one, it's going to be this week against Oakland. I think Oakland's going to win 38-31.
38-31?
Yep.
That's very fair. No, I'm going to agree with you on that. 38-31 is the score. It's gonna be hard to tell, but it's definitely going to be a shootout.
Yep.
It's hard to say that the Bills are going to be in a shootout because their passing attack isn't that great.
Right.
But, the running game will put up points. And, 38-31 Oakland. For sure.
Yeah, definitely going to be a good one. And Derek Carr's just, I can just see it being one of those games. He's just going to pick them apart. Crabtree's a great receiver. Cooper's a great receiver. Walford, your tight end, is, he's also having a good year. He's a good blocking tight end. He can go out there, and he's a big red zone target. Yeah, so there it is. Me and Jaden are in agreement. 38-31 Oakland, even though I'm not happy about it. But it's definitely what's going to happen. So to move on from that, we're going to try to cover our games of the week. And Kenny, we'll start with you. Also kind of having a Pittsburgh bias. This is a huge game for you this week. So what's your game of the week?
It's big. It's going to be the Giants and Steelers by default. Two teams fighting for a playoff spot right now. I think the Steelers need it more than the Giants do. In essence, because the Steelers are going to go head-to-head with the Ravens the rest of the year, I think the Giants are going to pull ahead. They're going on a little hot streak. I think they'll be all right in that division, or at least get a wild card.
Right, I was going to say, because Cowboys lead that
Yeah,
division.
right. I mean, I think it's obvious the Cowboys are going to win the division, but the Giants could finish second and get a first wild card easily.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
for Pittsburgh, they're in more trouble.
Yeah. So what do you see from Pittsburgh and Giants in this particular game? So what do you?
If Eli and that Giants offense expose the secondary of the Pittsburgh Steelers, if this 3 things need to happen for the Giants to win. 1, Eli needs to be protected well, which is possible. 2, he needs to expose the secondary. And 3, they need to run the ball a good amount. Because once you deviate from the passing game, you start letting Pittsburgh think about the run, then that's when the corners start sort of cheat a little bit.
Yeah,
that's when
right.
the flats open up. That's when they press a little and go to zone coverage, and then those 15-yard third down completions that I hate ever so much every week happen from William Gay and Ross Cockrell. I think we need to overhaul that secondary first of all.
Yeah, you see that a lot happen with Eli is he just abandons the run game, and that's when you see Eli throw for 380 yards, great, but he also throws for 3 picks.
And that's what I'm saying. If they can find a good balance, 65% passing, maybe I'd say.
Yeah. So what do you see as a final prediction, score, outcome of that game?
If Pittsburgh's on clicking on all cylinders and they can contain the Giants, I think they win a close one, 24-17. But if none of that happens and they're just exposed on defense and the offense can't get going, then I think the Giants win roughly 28-14. I don't think if the Steelers' offense isn't clicking, they're not scoring at all.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Jaden, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, Ben, who's healthy. Brown is the best receiver in the game. Lev Bell is. I love Lev Bell. I actually have him as a sleeper MVP candidate. But
Yeah. So it's weird seeing the Steelers at 6-5 and just not the typical Steelers team. But I think the Giants will win this one. I think that's a very good defense, a good enough offense. Got receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Just the defense isn't there for the Steelers.
No.
But I think they'll put up points. I'm gonna go with 30-21 Giants.
I can agree with that too.
yeah, I'm gonna go with the Giants as well. Their defense has been stepping up, playing great. Landon Collins has just been
He's a
on
beast.
fire.
He's a
He's
beast.
been
He's
running
so
around
good.
with his head like a chicken with his head cut off all
Speaking
over the place.
Speaking
all
of
over the field.
Alabama alums.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Giants here.
Thanks, guys.
I'm predicting. Sorry, Kenny. I'm just predicting.
No, I agree.
I'm just predicting the Giants' defense having a strong showing as they have been lately, and maybe OBJ catches a touchdown or two. Sterling Shepard, he's also a great rookie receiver. I'm thinking Giants close. So I think the Steelers can keep up for some extent, but I think the Giants are going to ultimately win. I'm going to go with 35-31.
That's reasonable. And I just want to point out, I picked the Browns to beat the Giants last week in our picks of the week that I do with my sweet mates.
Yep.
And it was a 7-point game for 9 minutes. So I wasn't that crazy of a person to think that. I mean, Josh McCown didn't have a bad game. He just had that fluky picks.
For 9 minutes, yeah.
For 9 minutes, that's 3 possessions essentially for the Browns.
Good
Anything
job.
can happen in football, man.
Browns.
Yeah, I mean, that's 3 minutes. But still, Josh McCown, if it weren't for that pick 6 from Jason Pierre-Paul, they were right in that game. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. It was 2013 for like 9 minutes. I'm not crazy, trust me.
You're kind of crazy. you're a little crazy.
Are they 0-11? 0-12?
Yeah, they're on 12 now, I think.
All right, Jaden, what's your game of the week?
My game of the week's going to be the Chiefs at the Falcons. So that's going to be in the Dome. It's a big game for me. It's a big game for you. It's a big game for pretty much anyone in the AFC who's trying to get into the playoffs.
Oh, let me just say real quick, speaking of the Chiefs, I'm so happy the Chiefs won their last game.
You are.
As a Bills fan.
That's
Better than a tie.
Yeah.
If they tied, they both would have been in the wild card, the Chiefs and the Broncos.
Right.
Think about that.
That's good.
Because of win percentage. I was sitting there, and there's 5 minutes left of overtime. I'm like, Cairo, hit this field goal.
Yeah.
And my heart almost stopped when it hit off the upright, but then it snuck in there miraculously. I'm like, okay, good. Someone won and someone lost, because at that point the Chiefs and the Broncos have the same record. Right. So someone wins, someone loses. Bills and Dolphins have a better shot.
I hate ties. That's like both teams lining up at midfield at the beginning of the game and saying, hey, good game, and shaking hands and just going home. Like, no one likes ties. Come on.
We've had so many this year already.
So many. But yeah, so 8-3 Chiefs, 7-4 Falcons. As of now, both teams would make into the playoffs, but there's still major playoff implications. Both teams are coming off really big wins last week. You saw that the Falcons destroyed the Cardinals. The Chiefs took to the very last second overtime, but they got it. So the Chiefs have the first wild card spot in the AFC right now. So if they keep winning, they'll be in. Every loss is just going to hurt them at this point.
Yeah.
And the Falcons, only a game back from them is the Bucs. So if they want that South division, they're probably not going to get the wild card at 7-4. It's possibly, but they're going for that division win. So they just need to keep racking up those wins. And if not, the Bucs Don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on the Bucks.
Hey, I said in week 3 the Bucks are no team to sleep on. I know they struggled early on, but they're undefeated on the road this season, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, that team, they have pieces on offense, and their defense is freakishly athletic. I love Quan Alexander, their linebacker.
Yeah, he's real good.
He's amazing, I think. But none, like I said, like early in the season, I said the Buccaneers are going to be a sleeper team to watch, and everyone laughed and mocked me with scoring. But now I'm laughing at them. So
Yeah, didn't you just have a prediction correct there? You mentioned you doing pick'em games with your teammates.
I
So
picked
you
Tampa Bay to beat Kansas City a few weeks ago, and everyone laughed at me. But
Yep.
now I have everyone on the bandwagon, so
There you go.
I should start my own cult.
There you go. Basically, your own little Jameis Winston.
Yeah, basically.
So that being said, I think I'm going to have the Falcons win this one. It's at home. They play really good at home. It'll be good for me. I want the Chiefs to lose. I think it's going to be a 34-24 win for Matt Ryan and Julio Jones.
I'll be the mediator in this one, so I'll go last. I see Kenny shaking his head over here. I'm assuming you're taking Tampa Bay. Give me your reasons.
Well,
Atlanta.
Kansas City, yeah, I'm thinking Kansas City over Atlanta.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Kansas
Just
City.
because I think Matt Ryan's going to have fits from that Chiefs defense. Marcus Peters could shut down Julio Jones completely. He's arguably a top 5 corner in the NFL, and I think Alex Smith has peaked as a game-managing quarterback this season. I think this is his best season he's arguably ever had, I think, as a quarterback in the NFL since he came out of Utah. But I think the Chiefs game manage well, and they hold the Falcons to less than 20 points, and I think the Chiefs win 24-14.
Holding the Falcons under 20 points is going to be hard to do.
If Marcus Peters can shut down Julio Jones, anything's possible. And I think he can very well can.
And that's the thing here is I'm going to take the Falcons here. I'll get to a score in a minute, but I am going to take the Falcons because it's not just Julio Jones on that offense.
No, but he's the key contributor on that offense.
He is, but so is Devonta Freeman.
That's
so
true.
is Taylor Gabriel had 2 touchdowns last week. He when he has the ball in open field, he can do amazing things with his footwork and speed. They got that timeshare of Devonta Freeman, who's been having a great year, and they also got Tevin Coleman. So if anything happens to Freeman, they got it back up there,
Right.
and they also kind of split them at times. I'm gonna go with the Falcons. They're just so prolific in scoring that they'll give up some points here and there. And the Chiefs are a pretty good team in terms of fundamentals and scoring, but the Falcons are just going to outlast them, and it's going to be a 28-24 win. It's going to be a close one, but I think the Falcons will hold them off. So that's going to take us to my game of the week, which we were talking about the AFC East and the AFC North, and that's going to be this week's matchup of the Dolphins and the Ravens. There's just so much riding on this game. For the Dolphins, they're trying to stay in the hunt. The Bills, they need help with them. The Titans need help in this game. The Steelers need help with the Ravens losing, and the Ravens are trying to hold on to the AFC North lead. And there's just so much riding on this game for a number of teams, not just the AFC North and East, but like I said, the Titans are from the outside looking in. They're trying to stay in it. The Colts are just trying to win any game they can, but they're probably out of it at this point.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to say that.
It's going to be a very good matchup, and the Dolphins are going to go into Baltimore, and J.J. is not going to get a 200-yard game, but he is going to get a 150-yard game. He's going to get 150 yards and 2 scores.
It's the best rush defense in football here.
It's a good defense, but Tannehill's also been passing the ball really well, and I think that if the Ravens at all are beat by the passing game and they got to worry about that, now it just opens up everything.
Yeah.
If Tannehill can get the ball moving through the air early on in the game and really establish a pass game, and then the run game will just follow on with that, especially if they hold on to a lead and maintain that. But I think J.J. Will keep dominating, and I think the Dolphins will win this one pretty steadily. It'll be about 21-17.
I'm going to go with the Ravens on this one. I think their defense is great. It's overall second best defense in football. Really good rushing defense. So I think they're going to stop Ajay. I'm going to be a little bit opposite of you on this one.
Okay.
I think Tannehill's going to have a rough day. I just don't. Something about the Dolphins, and if it was all to be said and done now, they'd be in the playoffs. Doesn't sound right to me. I don't think that's
6-game win streak, man.
Yeah, I don't. It's going to come to an end. I think the offense is going to really struggle, and I don't think Baltimore is going to look great offensively, but I think defense will do enough. Like I said, defense wins football games. I think they're going to win 17-10.
Okay. Ooh, nice low-scoring close one.
Yeah, nice little defensive battle.
Well, I think the weather is a big factor in this game too. Miami's so used to playing in 70 to 90 degree weather throughout at least the early part of the season at home. I mean, if in Baltimore it's going to be below 50 degrees, I think Miami's going to struggle a bit. They're not used to that. I mean, a lot of players on their team are also from warm weather colleges. So I mean, I think it all depends on how Baltimore's defense does contain the passing game, like Austin said. But I don't think they're going to have a problem stopping J.J. That front seven's intimidating with Terrell Suggs leading the pack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if Baltimore can score 20, I think they win. I think my final score, assuming Flacco and the offense are on track, 21-17. It's going to be close, but I think they'll pull it out in the
So
fourth
you got
quarter.
21-17 Baltimore. It's lots to look
And,
forward.
and I
lots to look
hate and
forward
I
to this
hate
week.
picking them because I hate the Ravens. But realistically, I think they're going to win this game.
That's the thing is you got to think about it realistically. What's going to happen? Like I didn't want to pick the Bills to lose, but they're going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to going into the end of the year, and just real quick because like I did mention that by the time we come back, we'll be back just in time for the Super Bowl, so maybe we can hold off on that. But when you look at the playoff picture, all right, and you got the obviously you got the Patriots leading the way, and you got the for the AFC I'm talking about, you got the Patriots and the Raiders both leading the way. They would have first round byes. And then currently, as we mentioned, the Ravens are winning the North, the Texans are winning the South, and the Dolphins and the Chiefs are the second and first wild cards. Is this going to stay, or is anything going to happen to change it? Jane, we'll start with you. As you look over your notes there, I see you got all your numbers and schedules there.
Yeah, I think, the Patriots and Raiders, I think they'll stay. I think they'll both win their divisions outright.
Yeah.
And have the best records to get the byes. I think the Ravens will win the North, so they'll have a 3 or a 4 seed depending on a few things. Then the South. I think the Titans are going to make a comeback actually and win the South, so Texas won't make the playoffs. I think the Chiefs will get that first wild card spot. And yeah, I think the Broncos are going to jump the Dolphins, so I think we'll have 2 AFC West teams in the playoffs and no Texans. And then out in the NFC, Cowboys, Seahawks, I think we'll go 1-2. That's a good bet.
Yeah.
I think the North, the Lions will win that division. I think the Falcons will win the South. And then looking at it, I think the Giants and I think the NFC will stay right how it is actually. I think so. You'll have 2 AFC West teams, and then you'll have 3 AFC West teams and 3 NFC East teams in the playoffs this year.
Now,
That'll be fun to watch.
call me crazy, but the last time the Giants won a Super Bowl, weren't they the wild card team?
Yes, they were 10-6, I believe.
So last
So,
two,
or
last two times.
no,
the
eight.
last 2 times they were, yeah.
Last 2 times.
8-8 they were, I think.
With the Manningham and Tyree, expedites.
Manningham,
But everyone forgets the Manningham catch.
I don't. I'll tell you what. I wrote for my high school newspaper, and I just kind of did like a Super Bowl summary and a breakdown.
All right, so you'd remember that then if you wrote
I
about
remember
it, yeah.
because my entire piece on that Super Bowl hindered on that catch, and I remember sending it to my editor along with a picture of the toe tap on the sideline.
Yeah.
I remember that catch very well. It was incredible. Obviously, everyone remembers the David Tyree catch against who was the New England defensive.
I think it was Rodney Harrison.
It was
wasn't
Rodney Harrison.
Yeah.
He talks about it all the time on Sunday NFL Countdown. How
Probably
he
haunts his
can't-
dreams every night.
It does. Wakes up in the middle of the night screaming because he can't handle it.
On his $1 million bet, of course.
Well, of course. But, yeah, that's the Giants when they make a playoff push and Eli is in the playoffs and he's firing to everyone. They have so many weapons offensively.
No, yeah.
It's incredible.
I really think Eli's a better quarterback when he has a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. I think when he's spoon-fed something, when he's the favorite in a lot of games, he struggles at times. And
Yeah.
I think he likes the extra motivation there.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the AFC real quick. Yeah, I agree with Jaden. Patriots, Oakland, that's going to be 1-2. That's going to stay that way.
Yeah.
I also agree with Jaden. Titans are going to win the South. The Titans are going to come back and win the South. I think Marcus Mariota has showed me a lot this year, and he's a very solid quarterback, and he's just going to keep improving and keep getting better as the season goes on.
Yeah, plus
And
that South's not very competitive.
it's not.
either.
It's not at all. Wild card. That leaves. Oh, sorry, the North. I think the Steelers actually have a really good shot of coming back to win the North. I think they have a fully healthy squad, and
Yeah.
when their offense is moving, Kenny, as you know, when their offense is moving,
They can put up points in bunches.
There's very
Yeah.
little stopping them.
Exactly.
And the Ravens, they struggled to score, but they're a very defensive team, defensive oriented team, and I think the Steelers are going to win the North, and then I think the wild card. A combination of the Chiefs and the Broncos, first and second wild card. So yeah, three AFC West, and also I'll agree with that one. You could look at the NFC North, and maybe the Packers make a run. You know,
Nah,
maybe Aaron Rodgers just says
they're 2 games behind the Lions.
They
that
are.
defense is terrible.
They are, but maybe at some point Aaron Rodgers just says, guys, can you just start catching touchdowns for me? That'd be
I don't
great.
think it'll help.
Or deflect passes once in a while.
They're too depleted in the secondary to be a good
Yeah.
football team. It sucks
Right.
because Aaron Rodgers is so good. I like seeing him succeed.
Yeah.
They're in the NFC, so I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah, haha, Clinton Dix is the only remaining healthy starter level
Right.
player on that defense right now, at least.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, haha.
Anyway, that's the only question mark really is the NFC North. Can the Lions hold on to it? Will Minnesota come back? Will Aaron Rodgers go on a run? Again, probably not. But the only question mark is the NFC North, and if the Lions hold on to it, then I think the playoff picture for the NFC will stay how it is.
Yeah, sounds about right.
All right, so that's gonna end it for the NFL, and I look forward to talking about the Super Bowl and breaking that down once we get back here in the spring semester.
Just win, baby. Go Raiders.
Okay, Jaden.
Oh, I'll be calling in from Skype from Washington, D.C.
Oh yeah, that's right. You got that internship going.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, go Raiders. I guess maybe I want them to succeed.
guess.
If obviously if the Bills don't make it, I love seeing new teams make the playoffs, and the Raiders are a new team. They're a
Right.
fresh team. They're young and they're hungry, and it would be great to see them succeed. So if the Bills don't make it, I'm pulling for Jaden, obviously.
And it would be good for the city of Oakland, too.
It
They need a
definitely would.
boost.
It definitely would. So now we're going to move on to baseball. As a lot of people may or may not know, the Hall of Fame ballot got released, and the voting is going on this time of year in late December, early January. There's going to be a lot of debates going on about it. And it's going to be interesting this year because I love the names Vladimir Guerrero, Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, and Manny Ramirez. I just don't really see any of them being first ballot Hall of Famers this year. Maybe Pudge.
Oh, I was going to say,
Maybe.
maybe Manny.
Maybe Manny?
If you disregard, if steroids never existed, then Sosa would be first ballot, McGuire would be,
Right.
Bonds would be first
I was
ballot,
going to say Clemens.
Clemens too, a
Schilling.
lot of other players. But Manny, I really think Manny, if not first, second or third ballot Hall of Famer.
Right.
Steroids don't exist.
In a perfect world,
In a
right?
perfect
Yeah.
world. But I mean, their stats wouldn't be that way if it wasn't for steroids. So you have to play the game clean. And, they didn't play the game clean, so they're suffering from it now. Now their baseball careers
Right.
are over.
I'm looking at career WAR here, and Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are obviously in the top two. And then you also got Schilling on the list, Bagwell, Walker, and Manny. All of those guys at some point or another were questioned or tested or put on some sort of report. The only one of those top 7 who were not was Mike Mussina. And I
he was
wanted
pretty
him to
skinny.
get in last year, and I think that when you look at his career numbers, they're quiet. They're very quiet, and they're very good.
Because he wasn't a flashy pitcher. He did the dirty work. He did his job. He had 3 different arm angles.
That's
he
why. Well,
he was
that's
just
why,
reliable.
That's why Greg Maddux got in with a
Exactly.
98% vote. Mike Mussina, when he didn't strike you out, he got ground balls, and he's a Gold Glove pitcher. He fielded his position. He had that great knuckle curve.
He's just a pure pitcher all around.
He really is.
can do anything, really.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys like Clemens on the list and Schilling, who even in his heyday was amazing. You got guys like that who were throwing 95 plus all the time with power sliders, power splitters, amazing stuff. And then Mussina just, I'll locate. I admire pitchers like that.
I love him.
But I'm looking through the list, and I've been voting for voting. I'm obviously not a voter. I've just been posting to Twitter and Facebook on my opinions, and that's just. This is just something I'm really passionate about. I feel that I know steroids were an issue. It still takes an immense amount of hand-eye coordination and talent to still do what Bonds did and to still do what Clemens did. And my other argument to that is it was considered the steroid era. It's not like there were a handful of people doing it. Almost everyone was doing it.
And it's
so
still,
Bonds and Clemens were putting up those numbers against people who were also doing the stuff that they were doing.
You would assume, and it's still very prevalent in the minor leagues too. I mean, every other week, if not more often, let's say every week, you hear about a suspension, 162 game suspension, some prospect in single A. It's like, well, this is rampant. Like every week, someone's getting suspended for PEDs. Like,
well, you also got a lot of people coming over for Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico who are trying to make a living off it, and they just can't get anywhere.
This is all they know.
Baseball. This is all they know.
Nothing.
So now they're trying to take
enhancers.
Right? They're trying to take enhancers and get to that
you
level.
can't blame them. You don't want it to happen, but you can't blame them. You're a skinny 18-year-old kid from Puerto Rico, always known as baseball. He comes over, hits 220, do PEDs. You'll get noticed. You'll hit 310, mash 25 home runs in a short season league, and hey, all of a sudden you're on a top 30 prospect list.
Right.
Until you get caught.
Right.
Just don't get
exactly.
caught.
But you're looking at the rest of this list. Look at this. Okay, so outside top 7, Tim Raines, this is his last year on the ballot. He's a old school guy. I wanted to get in.
Last year, I think that will too.
Old school guy. I definitely want him to go in there. I want to see guys like Edgar Martinez. I think he'll be the first DH to go in at some point in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Before Ortiz.
It's very
goes in there.
controversial. A pure DH essentially going into the Hall of Fame, but
He hits, man. He
hey,
hits.
yeah, it's a skill, but
Is this the Bonds year that he gets in, you think?
I think this. I really hope it is.
it could go on for another 2 or 3 years.
It
Look
could.
at that war.
You got up to 10. You got up to 10 years and Bonds and Clemens. They got 5 more years left, and both of them. Yeah, Jaden just said Bonds is WAR. He leads WAR with 162.4 total WAR in his career.
That's got to be top 5 all time.
It's got to be. And Clemens for pitchers, that's got to be one of the best all time for pitchers with 140.3 total WAR.
I'm not a huge fan of WAR, but when it stands out like that, it does stand out to you. But when you
look at it in this way, Bonds' career WAR, like that's what this is showing on Baseball Reference here is total WAR. Why it's so high is because it takes his WAR year in year out throughout his career. Bonds on your team, if he was on your team, he won you an entire season extra of games above his replacement.
That's crazy.
160 games.
Right, and I do agree when WAR is a number such high, like 162.4, you don't see that for a career ever. Like most people are double digits, but it's so subjective. No one knows how to calculate it. 2 different websites, Baseball Reference and Fangraphs, have 2 different formulas for it. It changes every year.
Right.
I don't think it's a very concrete stat. I do think it's a good talking point for arguments, but I would never ever back myself up by using WAR ever.
Yeah, no.
I think you have to look at the total impact on the game that they had. Barry Bonds changed the way intentional walks were looked at, changed the way lefty on lefty matchups were looked at. Like I would agree that. Oh, go ahead, Austin.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I still remember. Speaking of intentional walks on Barry Bonds, I still remember Buck Showalter for the Diamondbacks being up by 2 with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th at a Giants game.
Yep.
And he walked Barry Bonds intentionally with the bases loaded to stay up by 1, and then got the last out of the game after that.
And probability says that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because with the chance a single scores 2 there, presumably.
Bonds hitting singles. That's funny.
Well, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, but I love looking at these names though that are first year ballots. Okay, so here's everyone who's a first year on the ballot. Okay, Manny Ramirez, Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, and Vladimir Guerrero. You got those guys. They're very good names. Okay, now Jaden and I like to have the segment where we talk about guys who may have been forgotten.
The Hall is very good.
Here's some first years. Okay, Mike Cameron, good name. Javier Vasquez, boy, did I hate him as a pitcher.
Melvin Mora made it. Let's go.
Melvin Mora is on the list. Edgar Renteria has how many rings? He's got 2 or 3 rings.
I think so.
Mike Cameron, the Padres. Mike Cameron's on this list.
That Mike Cameron, yeah. Well, all it is he retired 5 years ago.
I know that this is his first year of eligibility. I'm just, why is he on it?
JD, don't call me Steven Drew.
There you go.
Let's
keep going. Oh yeah, Billy Wagner got 10.5% votes last year. Forgot about that. I think Trevor Hoffman could definitely make it this year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Top 2 closer of all time. He's the second best one behind Rivera. Okay, here you go. Carlos Guillen.
Carlos Guillen.
Gotta love Carlos Guillen.
Great utility guy for the Tigers for a while.
J.D. Drew's on there too.
The curious case of Orlando Cabrera, in which every team he was on made it to the World Series. For like a 5-year stretch, he would be on 5 different teams, and they would all go to the World Series. The
Red Sox, Giants.
Red Sox.
Yeah.
The Reds didn't make it to the World Series, but they made it to the playoffs for the first time in forever.
He was an Expo too.
He was for a while, yeah. Probably my favorite second baseman ever growing up watching Freddie Sanchez on the Pirates. I don't know why. He was just a little 5'5" guy. He was like the poor man's Altuve, and I loved watching him.
That's a good comparison.
Right?
I think Danny Baez, sitting there number 36, is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Shut up, Kenny. Just stop talking. So if I got to fill out a ballot right now, I got Hoffman.
Same.
I got Bonds.
Same.
I got Clemens.
I got Bagwell.
I don't think they.
I also have Bagwell.
I don't think they go with Bonds. I just feel like it's one of those
I think they push off Bonds for another 2 or 3 years.
Bonds and Clemens both. I can see why so many people are skeptical for a little while longer.
If they give it to them in their 5th year, it's just going to show people who potentially are debating to use PDs. They're like, oh, I can still get into the Hall of Fame if I do this. I think they're going to push as long as possible because it makes those people who are using PDs it's more of a punishment. Just seeing how much longer you have to wait in that ballot.
It is, but
It's more of
again,
a PR move if you make them wait a little bit.
and I hate cheaters, but you can make the argument that steroids don't help you hit, they don't help you think, they don't help you with the mental grind of baseball.
Right.
They don't.
So I mean, they only make you stronger. And how much does that really benefit you?
They did
Enough to use them.
Enough,
That's-
right,
that's-
right.
There was it was either an E60 or a sports science thing that they did on ESPN, and they talked about people who use steroids. So basically, what it did was, on average, throughout the course of a career, it would add people who use steroids. It would add another 20 feet of distance on a home run ball. So now,
that's
how many of those home runs are going to end up at the warning track as flyouts?
Right.
How many of those home runs stay in the park as doubles?
Exactly. How many warning track flyouts? That's 25 more home runs possibly a year.
Right.
Right.
25 flyouts to the warning track. I mean, you can't assume it, but realistically.
Yep.
Realistically, I mean, he had that one year when Bonds hit 73.
73 in 2001.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
So, this
2001's
incredible.
arguably the greatest season ever by anyone in the history of baseball. Arguably.
I got two names that I'm very curious of. No, I'm not looking at Derek Lee. I think he was a good player, but I'm not looking at him.
He's in the Hall of Very Good, not the Hall of
He's in the Hall of very good players.
Very good.
I'm
A lot
looking,
of these
I'm
players
looking
are.
at two players who I'm curious about. Jorge Posada may not have the career numbers, but the fact of the matter is he has 5 rings.
I don't know if we're biased when it comes to this, because I think we're all Yankees fans.
Yes.
We are.
I'm just like, Jorge Posada has to be in the Hall of Fame. But
Yeah.
Because when I think
every
of
Yankee
Posada
fan-
and Pettit, and I think of the core 4, I'm like, I want him to be in there. I think obviously his number's going to get retired at some point in Monument Park. But is Jorge Posada a Hall of Famer?
he's a key part to those 5 rings.
He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he
Definitely not.
could get in by his 5th or 6th year. I think he can.
You think he
can
gets
sneak.
in?
I think he
You
can
think he
sneak in.
definitely
What is
gets
it? You need 75% of the vote.
You need
right?
75% of the vote to get in, and keep in mind you need 5% of vote to stay on the ballot. If you
Right.
get if you drop less than 5% any year, you're off the ballot.
And can I just say, I hate the writers who don't vote at all. You have the
There's
privilege
so
and
many-
the honor to vote for the Baseball
know,
Hall of
but-
Fame, and you just don't vote for somebody.
There are
I
so
will
many
never
people
understand
who
it.
sell their votes to other people. It's incredible.
It's stupid.
I really hate it. But my other player is Tim Wakefield. This is his first year on the ballot. That's very interesting. 2004 and 2007 Red Sox team.
I don't even think he's the greatest knuckleball pitcher of all time.
Well, Phil Niekro probably.
No, Phil Niekro easily.
But you
Wilhelm,
look at how steady he was for those 2004 and 2007 Red Sox, and he's among the career leader in Red Sox pitchers in terms of wins, games pitched, strikeouts even. I mean, his knuckleball.
Oh yeah, no, he's
fooled so many hitters.
He's got great numbers. I put him 3rd behind Hoyt Wilhelm and Phil Niekro in terms of greatest
Yeah.
knuckleballers ever. I mean, he might get in 7th or 8th time around. I don't see him getting in though, and I don't think voters will take too kindly to a knuckleball pitcher. The unpredictability and blah blah blah. So
There's unpredictability, but then there's also, mastering what he did, mastering your craft,
Right.
which is what he did.
right, but those people that say unpredictability are the same people who say, well, he got lucky because of this, and it wasn't his fault. It's a knuckleball being random and all that. But that's a skill in itself. You know what I mean? There's two sides to this, and I don't think anyone's right.
That's like saying, he hit a home run on that bat. Oh, he got lucky. He was out in front of a curve and got lucky.
Oh, it was right down the middle.
Well, yeah, or something like that. Well,
I mean,
it's still a home run that he crushed.
You can find flaws in anything, but
you
I think
can.
overall, I don't think Wayfield's going to get the benefit of the doubt for the voters. I don't think he is.
Yeah. Well, so let's say those guys are off the ballot. There's just so many guys. How can you narrow it down to 10?
Oh, I know.
You're leaving guys like we're talking right now. We're kind of leaving guys like in terms of first ballot. We're leaving guys like Vlad off the list. Gary Sheffield at 509 career home runs, and he didn't even make it as a first ballot.
No.
Those guys will have their year, though.
They will.
Yeah, they have plenty of years left.
It's rare that you get a first ballot Hall of Famer, and that really says something about a player.
It startles me that Sammy Sosa's dropping down to 7%, but I guess I can kind of see why.
With his off the
Cork the bat.
diamond
Babs.
issues, yeah.
Cork the bat. I was actually at that game when they found out there was a cork in his bat.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I was sitting in my seat. I was like, I had to have been like 8 years old, and I remember watching it, and they were just going over. They just kept looking at his bat, and they like cracked it open and everything, and just kept looking. I'm like, why are they looking at Sosa's bat? I actually didn't find out until the next day, when I watched the sports news, whether it was ESPN or CBS or whatever,
Yeah.
that they talked about it. I'm like, oh, that's what it was.
And if you've ever seen a corked bat hit a ball, it flies.
Yeah.
Like, the exit velo's got to be like 120 miles an hour. Like, I'm serious. Like
That's incredible. Yeah, so there's so many names to discuss, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely going to be keeping a look at this throughout the entire winter months.
Yeah.
When's the decision?
The
Like, when do we find out?
decision is made in early January. the announcement is made in early
So
January.
who's being inducted?
Right.
Well, that's
They
exciting.
do a whole thing where they bring on the commissioner of baseball. They put him on ESPN radio, MLB radio, and everything.
they get all the interviews,
They
yeah.
announce it. Yeah. So they do all of that in early January. It's like the first or second week. So it's gonna be interesting to see what goes on. This is I like to see guys like Fred McGriff and Tim Raines go in there.
Yep.
Old school guys. Edgar Martinez, I think, deserves it as a hitter. I think so many people do deserve it, but you can only vote to 10.
Yeah.
That's
Just
the
10.
tough part.
Gotta narrow it down to
I think
10.
you can only put in so many people each year. The Hall of Fame is going to need to get a new building. It's going to be so big, you know?
Yeah, it is.
There's not a whole lot. Hopefully, I'm not too upset this year. Maybe there's just some guys sneak in with just over 75%. Like, yeah, whatever. It's gonna be that kind of year. I'm just still mad that last year 3 people didn't vote for Griffey. I'm still mad about that.
Yeah.
I'll never understand that. Don't vote at all, or don't vote for someone obvious like Ken Griffey Jr.
Right.
Like, how can he not be a Hall of Famer?
That makes no sense to me.
Same with people like if Derek Jeter doesn't become a first ballot. I understand why Mariano Rivera would not, because a lot of people are skeptical about the save stat. Look at Trevor Hoffman, 500 saves and he only got 67%
Right.
last year. So I understand that, but if Derek Jeter doesn't get 100% of the voting, maybe we're all Yankee fans and we're all biased, but come on, it's Derek Jeter. He's the one guy where if a Red Sox fan were to say my favorite Yankee of all time is blank, they would probably say Derek Jeter.
And these are the same people, the same people who not hate Trevor Hoffman, but don't look at his saves as a great stat, are the same people that say clutch hitting doesn't exist,
Right.
and that every inning is the same inning mentally. Like, saves don't mean anything because it's still an inning, blah, blah, blah. This means something. Pitching the 9th inning is not pitching the 7th inning. And for people to reduce that to advanced statistics and numbers is ridiculous to me.
Yep.
But I want you to go out there and make a career pitching, getting the last 3 outs of a ball game every game in high stakes games. Because those Padres teams were pretty good back then.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of pressed for time here, so that's actually gonna do it for this week's podcast. But before we go, something just came across my phone. Rob Gronkowski to have back surgery. Patriots tight end will have the operation on Friday and will be out, quote, several weeks. Sorry.
That does reek, though.
It does reek for the Patriots. He'll be out for several weeks, according to Ian Rappaport.
Wow.
So there's that.
Good news for my Raiders.
I guess.
Sad.
Step to the top.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. With Brady, I think anything's possible, but that's
It's
gonna
Oh
not
yeah,
Martellus.
he's still got
Huge blow.
Edelman and Amendola and everything.
Martellus
right,
Bennett,
but this is still
something,
this is
but-
still a red zone threat being
Right.
taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something to look out for, and
further
we'll
news.
see how that impacts the Patriots going into the playoff picture. But until next time, we are without Mitch Courtney, but we'll see if he comes back during the semester and he's feeling better. So until next time, I'm Austin Speaker.
Jay and Sarabla.
Kenny Stables.
All right, thanks for listening.